Hi guys, it's Melinda. I come to you making another video. I have to be honest with you, I'm nervous about this video too, but I like it better when I do the fun ones. But right now it's too hard to think about anything fun or making anything fun with what's going on with our nation. There's something I wrote on Facebook and I would like to read it to you and then sort of interject, which I've done before, you guys know. But I want to share with you my perspective in my journey in my life, in hopes that it will create dialogue between all colors to come to a better way of doing things and change for the good. So here we go. I know there are going to be trolls out there who have something to say because I'm just a white girl. And that's fine. You're right about that. That's part of the dialogue. And I just hope that it helps us. I hope it helps us try to want better and try to do better and try to be better in how we're handling what's happening in our nation right now. Okay, not that it matters, but I would like to share my heart. Coming from Detroit, I learned by the tender age of 6 that many of the things that were happening around me had to do with the color of a person's skin. When my sister was raped by a man of color, when I was beat up at school because I was white, when I had to hide under a bed as our windows were shot out, having racial slurs screamed at us, having had a race riot start on our very street, at our very house, having our lives threatened and our house burned because we were white. I've seen close up and personal what hate based on the color of a person's skin can do. I want you to understand that I do not understand to the degree of what you've been through. I don't. But I do understand from my personal experience growing up in Detroit. Walking through a store and based on what I'm dressed like, having be followed by employees. Yeah, that happened to me. I do understand when I'm walking around afraid because of not having the ability to defend myself. As mothers and wives, we may not, white America, we may not understand to the fullness of what you go through because we're not people of color. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a place that we can start a dialogue at, and that's the parts that we do have in common. I know what it's like to be afraid of the police. Not in the way that you are afraid of the police, but I know what it's like to be afraid of the police. But I also know that there are good cops out there. Good cops who care about their community. We have friends and family who are cops. But I also know what it's like to be angry. So I'm going to continue with it. I just want you to understand that as I read, though we don't understand the fullness of what you go through, there is a place, there is somewhere that we can start a dialogue to help make things better and change. Let's start with what we have in common. I want you to know you are not wrong. The outrage is justified. The anger is justified. The desire for justice is justified. The peaceful protests are justified. The desire to see that cop in jail, which he is right now, is justified. To see him go to prison or want him to go to prison is justified. We all know what happened to George is wrong. All of us, even white Americans, know it was wrong. What happened to others in similar situations is wrong. It's wrong. The people of America agree. We are standing behind you. We all can see what happened to George should never happen again. Period. He did not deserve to be murdered at the hands of a police officer. He didn't. It was wrong. And it breaks the hearts of every mother who has a child, no matter what color they are. You are not wrong in your anger. You are not wrong in your desire to end injustice. You are not wrong in your plight for change. But your motive can betray you. Your motive can make you wrong. Please, please ask yourself what your motives are. No one else can do that for you. For they will be what drives your words and your actions. Anger can drive a desire for justice, but when that anger is left to fester unchecked, it turns to rage, then to hate, and then to vengeance. Vengeance, when acted upon, has no choice but to leave a wake of destruction, harming everyone and everything in its path. I've felt those feelings. I felt them with every physical, emotional, mental, and sexual abuse I suffered at the hands of those who were supposed to be protecting me while growing up. Just like officers are supposed to be protecting us and protecting you. And some of them are not. And for that, my heart grieves. So I understand what you feel in that sense. Because there were people in my life that should have protected me and didn't. Like I said, I'm white. And I may not understand to the degree that you have suffered. But I understand what it's like to need somebody to see you, to hear you, to understand, to have compassion and grace, and treat you with dignity and respect and honor, and to give you the same freedoms as they would anybody else. That I understand. Like I said, anger can drive a desire for justice, but when that anger is left to fester unchecked, it can turn to rage, then to hate, then to vengeance. Vengeance, when acted upon, has no choice but to leave a wake of destruction, harming everyone and everything in its path. I already said that. I felt those feelings. I felt them with every physical, emotional, mental, and sexual abuse I suffered at the hands of those who were supposed to be protecting me while growing up. I said that. I felt them when my sister committed suicide. I felt them when my brother was murdered. I felt them when I tried to stop drunks and child molesters from hurting the people I love. Justice is something we all want. But vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And the reason the Lord says vengeance is his is because he's the only one that can do it with a pure and righteous heart. The rest of us, we have an innate flaw, and it's called sin, and that affects how we justify our actions toward others, so that when our desire for justice turns to vengeance, because it's gone through the stages of rage and hate. That's why vengeance must be left up to the Lord. It doesn't mean that we can't act. It doesn't mean that you can't protest. It doesn't mean that you can't desire change. It doesn't mean that you can't speak up. It doesn't mean that you can't stand up. It doesn't mean that you can't rise up. But we've got to stop beating up. We've got to stop beating up. That serves no purpose. If you are there to spread hate, then you are wrong. If you are there to stir up trouble, then you are wrong. If you are one of those people who has been sent to make the peaceful protesters look bad, then you are wrong. If you are destroying property, then you are wrong. If you are stealing and looting, then you are wrong. If you are bringing harm to any civilians or law enforcement without provocation, then you are wrong. If you are preventing law-abiding citizens from making a living or trying to provide for their families or stopping them from getting their food and medications and necessities by choosing to stand on the highway so trucks cannot pass, you are wrong. If your motive is vengeance, then you are absolutely wrong. This has been and should always be about what is right and just. Those things don't make you right and just. Protesting, yes, absolutely. Like I said, America stands behind you. What happened was wrong. And you have every right to protest and stand up and rise up. But please, I beg you to stop the violence. Because whether you know it or not, the violence and the vengeance are drowning out the message. They're drowning out your voice. Nobody can hear what you're saying when there's violence and vengeance. Nobody's listening to that, to what you have to say, the message. Nobody's remembering that George was murdered. They're starting to remember the cop that was shot or the places that were burned. That's what they're remembering. Not George, not the injustice. Not that the police officers who need to be held accountable. Please don't let people influence you to do things that you know innately are wrong. Do the right thing, rise up, absolutely. But don't drown out your own voices through vengeance and violence. Please. If this is truly to be about George, then you must remember that he was called a man of peace. Please consider honoring that while you seek justice for his life. They called George a man of peace. And I read that his girlfriend said he would be devastated if he saw the violence taking place. When I see online a homeless man and people taking his bed, his mattress, the only thing he had, and they're burning it, that's not justice. That's vengeance, and that's bullying, and it's cruel, and it's mean. Do you understand that every business you burn, people have been stuck in a home without being able to have their businesses open or scaled down for the last 3 months. And any chance or hope of them surviving, you destroy when you take their businesses and burn them. I don't care what color you are hurting people, human beings, law-abiding citizens who are trying to do the right thing and work hard. I don't blame you for being angry. You should be. I'm angry for you. But what are you going to do with that anger? I had to make a choice. Because from a very young age, I was treated differently. I'm from the ghetto of Detroit. I lived at 8 Mile and Hall. I know what it was like to be treated differently because of my skin color. And I taught my children to love no matter the color of a human skin. I can make myself darker if I stand out in the sun. That doesn't change who I am. It's our hearts. Please look inside your hearts and check your motives. I realize I'm just a white girl and my voice doesn't matter. But I want you to know we care. We care about what's happening and we care about you. And we're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry for what that officer did. But please don't hold it against America. Law-abiding citizens who love and honor and respect their fellow man. Don't hold that officer's choice against them. Please. Please reconsider what you're doing. We beg you.